Hello and welcome back to Punk Yeah Education for Hairstylists. I'm your host and creator, Elizabeth Tyndall, and today we are going to be doing a haircut demo. I have been contemplating what to do next. I've noticed I've only been doing styling, so I figured it was time to demo a haircut. We're going to be doing a trendy French bob with kind of a slight swing in the front. I'm super excited because this is my favorite haircut of all time. And yeah, we're going to get her prepped at the shampoo bowl and we'll bring her right back. All right, first step was I shampooed my mannequin with the Kenner Professional Moisturizing Shampoo and Conditioner. Next up, I followed with the Pearl Detangler. I absolutely love this product because it's going to give me a lot of slip and be a great cutting lotion. This is super important because we want to make sure that we maintain an even canvas whenever we're cutting. We want to make sure that the moisture is the same the entire time we are cutting. So you'll see me reapply that Pearl Detangler a few times throughout this demo, and that's just because I'm making sure that my hair is evenly saturated. The next step in our process is going to be partings. Partings are going to be so important with every single haircut, and really making sure that you have clean, good parts is going to be key to the foundation of a successful haircut. So I'm going to start by taking a part from the front hairline all the way back to the nape of the neck, and I'm doing a basic center part, and then I'm going to take that center part and slice it in half and do a standard 4-quadrant parting, which I will demonstrate in just a second. When doing a 4-quadrant parting, I like to take my comb and balance it at the top of the head. And this is just going to make sure I'm starting from the highest point of the head and getting a clear vision on where the hair naturally falls. So you can see I found the high point of the head. I am going to part that straight down, and that is going to give me my front section. Again, just make sure your parts are as clean as you can possibly make them, and that's going to make your life so much easier. We're going to get this section clipped out of the way. I like to do this little twisty motion, and it kind of just helps it stay clean and out of the way. And then I'm going to repeat the same process on the other side of the head. Once we have our 4-quadrant parting complete, we are then going to start with our subsections. Our subsections are going to be very simple for this haircut. We are just going to take horizontal subsections up the back of the head. And to get our base, I like to just take about an inch to an inch and a half. If you have a guest with finer hair, you can take a little bit more, but I like to make sure I start kind of just below the mid ear whenever I am taking that first section. And that's just going to make sure that I have a very strong base, but I'm not taking too much hair that I cannot control it. If you find you're having a very difficult time controlling your subsection with just your comb, then you're going to want to just take a little bit less hair. It's okay to make your section smaller, and it's going to give you a more precise and even haircut if you do take smaller subsections. Now it's time to find where we're going to start our cut. I like to do the French bob starting at the jawline. That's going to give us a swing in the front that's slightly longer than the jawline. So if they decide to wear their hair straight, it's just going to give us a really nice swing and not be too short or drastic for our guest. I just take my comb and measure that out from the front jawline back to the back of the head where I'm going to start my cut. And I use my comb, and I will just hold the hair with my comb and cut at natural fall. Notice I'm not using my fingers to cut because the fingers are going to create elevation of at least a degree or two, if not more. And that is something that we do not want to have with this haircut. We want to make sure it has a very nice tuck underneath. So we are going to really make sure we're using our comb and our guest head is tilted forward. You'll notice as I tilt that head upwards, we have a very nice clean line, and it is in line with the jaw. Once we have our first subsection complete, we will then repeat that step on the back quadrant that we have not touched yet. We will just take the exact same subsection, parting size, and we will cut in the exact same way with our guest's head tilted forward and at natural fall. Once you have your subsections complete, on this very bottom perimeter row, I like to go in and do a very vertical point cut motion. And this is just going to soften that so that we do not have too harsh of a perimeter line. Because again, this French bob is going to tuck under, and we want to make sure that underneath we don't have too much hair that it's pushing outwards too far. So, really, just taking a nice point cut and softening up that perimeter can make a huge difference. And then, of course, we are going to want to check our length and make sure we are pulling down at the same exact speed, which I always go faster with my right hand than the left hand whenever I'm checking my length. So, really just taking the time to make sure you're moving slowly and that you have a very even canvas to start. Next, we're going to drop down our next subsection. So I like to comb all the hair down and then start at the top of the ear, typically for my second subsection on an average density of hair. And I like to make sure I can see my perimeter clearly through the hair. So making sure you can see your guide from the section before is going to be so important. Once you have your section ready, you can go ahead and tilt your guest head forward for this section as well. The top of the ear is where I stop having my guests tilt their head forward, and that's simply because that's usually when their head starts to round. And I like to go all the way up to that occipital bone, to the point to where it is rounding for my haircuts whenever I'm having them look down, because that's usually going to give me the best natural tuck to the hair. So I'm just using my comb and I can see my guide very, very easily. I'll even lift the hair up to check, and then I will make my cut, and I will repeat this process on the other side as well. It's a very simple and straightforward process, and you can also do point cutting on this layer, and that will help your end result if you are feeling that you're having a heavy weight line. Now that we have completed that base, we are going to drop down our next layers of hair. Again, just making sure that our sections are see-through. As you can see, we are having a very nice placement there right at the jawline. The key to a French bob is going to be to make sure that you're at the jawline or even shorter. You'll notice this is a trendy French bob, so we are going to have some pieces in the front that kind of swoop in on the cheekbone. So if you wore it straight, they would be a little bit longer than the jawline, but that is why our styling is going to play a huge part in our end result. You can see that our perimeter here is not very easily detected whenever we are looking through the hair. So I'm actually going to take just a little bit of a smaller section. That way I can make sure I can see my guide very easily, and we are not going to create any kind of layering in the hair or have pieces that are too long. So I am just going to clean up that section before I start cutting. Again, it's always okay to make your sections smaller. It is going to give you a better end result and a faster end result in the long run, instead of having to go back and make a whole bunch of changes through your cut. Now that we can easily see our guide, we can begin cutting. We are going to maintain our scissor over comb cutting placement and finish up this perimeter of the bob. And this part is my favorite part because you can really start to see everything we've created come to life. You are going to want your guest or your mannequin to be facing straight forward, chin not looking down anymore. That way, this top layer is going to softly bevel inwards because we did cut with the head down previously. And of course, I am going to go in and do some point cutting. I like to point cut on wet hair whenever I know there's going to be no layering in the hair, and this just gives me extra texture whenever it comes to wearing a style messy, or whenever you are wearing it just sleek. It really does look nice, and it just kind of breaks up the perimeter. Repeat this process throughout the entire back section of the head, and just make sure you are maintaining the proper scissor over comb technique at zero elevation. Once we complete this backside, we will move on towards the front. Now it is time to move on to that front section. We are going to make sure we are resaturated with our pearl detangler. This is going to give us nice even saturation and lots of slip when working with that longer hair still. So we are going to take a section. I like to go up to the temple area with my first section for this, just because it is a manageable section and we can get a very nice weight line again at the bottom of the hair whenever we are working so that we can have a very nice guide to start with. So the way that I like to cut this is I like to take it and go behind the ear as if I were tucking the hair behind my guest ear. This really is a unique technique whenever we are cutting these because they're going to be customized to our client's head shape. I love this technique for so many reasons, but really it is so customizable. You can create a stronger C shape. What I like to do is kind of create an number seven, I guess you would say. And I am going to use my comb there to hold the hair and just cut in a diagonal line. And sometimes I will take it a little bit less diagonal, but for this, I really want a strong shape. And you can see how drastic in the front that will get, and you can manipulate it with your hands. You can see how it's going to sit whenever you style it. But I love the face framing aspect of cutting like this. So we will drop down our next section and we are going to repeat the same exact process. We will drop down that section and we are going to make sure the hair is tangle free. This one will be a little bit less of a 7 and more of a C shape, I guess you would say. And I am going to follow the same guide I had before. Again, on the sides, it's so much easier because you just have such a nice, clear vision on where that guide is because there is less hair usually on the sides of the head than there is in the back. So we can easily complete this in 3 sections, and it's going to give us a beautiful end result. Once you finish cutting this side, we are going to complete the same exact process on the opposite side of the head. Again, use your finger or your comb as a weight on the hair so that the hair is nice and flat to the head before you cut, and always cut at natural fall when doing these side pieces as well. You can then take the hair down and really manipulate it, see how that shape is going to come into play, and see if you want to go shorter. I personally like this length that we're at because I am going to do a strong bevel with my round brush on the hair whenever I am styling. So this is going to be a perfect length for me, but you can totally customize this to any guest you have. Now we're just repeating the same exact process on the opposite side of the head, curving that hair around the ear and cutting it natural fall using our hand or our comb as our guide. Again, we are just cutting at a very slight diagonal there, and it is going to give us a beautiful end result. I literally cannot tell you guys how excited I am for you to see the finished product because you are never going to see it coming, and I can do this side easily in 3 sections as well. It is a very versatile method, and whenever you have guests who often tuck their hair too, it really forms nicely and it doesn't get too short whenever they tuck it behind their ear. So it is a really nice cutting technique and placement that I utilize all the time. I have several guests who I do this haircut on, and they all are absolutely obsessed with it. This cut also looks really nice with some curtain bangs, which I'm not going to do today, but I am going to show you how we are going to take care of the hair in the front of the face and make sure that we are even on both sides. So, whenever it comes to balancing out this haircut, you can take this time and part your guest wherever they are going to part their hair. But I like to make sure everything is symmetrical all the time, no matter where they flip it. So, I like to comb everything straight down, and we are going to point cut the corner off in the front. This corner, if I left it, is going to give the hair very much like an A line haircut look. And if I point cut that out, we are now getting that soft look that we're looking for with a bob. And it's simply going to give us a little bit more of that face framing effect. So I do recommend combing down and just point cutting off that little bitty corner that you're going to see, and then you can really customize where you are going to style. I already have my pearl detangler spread out through her hair, so now I'm going to go in with my Kenner Professional Boosting Spray Foam at the root. This is going to act as a root lifter and give us some volume and body in our style. And then I am going to round brush her hair with my round brush and my blow dryer and give you a finished result. You all are not ready for this end result because it's absolutely stunning. And here we go. Here it is, our end result. We are going to finish her up really quick with our shaping spray from Kenner Professional. This is going to be alcohol free, so it's really going to give us maximum moisture retention in the hair. And we are just doing a light mist to set her style. And I am already obsessed with this style. Here is a full 360 view of our finished style. You can really see how blunt that is, but it still has some texture. It has a very nice C shape there at the face. It's giving French bob. I am obsessed with it. And the back hairline is nice and clean because we really took our time with our sections. I want to thank you all so much for watching this tutorial today. I hope you learned something or take something away from this, and maybe you get to do a French bob in the salon sometime soon. If there's something you want to see, don't hesitate to send me a message or reach out. I would love to do a demo or tutorial that you want to see next on Punk Yeah Education for Hairstylists. So have a great week, and I will see you next time.